Hi, it's Professor Fitzsimmons, and I just wanted to check in as we're a little more than halfway about through the course. And this week is a little bit different from the previous week. So I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page and you know what assignments you have to complete this week. So just like most weeks, there's two lecture modules to go through. So you should be reading the textbook, watching the PowerPoints that go along with them, and I highly encourage you to do the quizzes as you get to them because they're due quite a bit later after you've gone through the module. They're only 5 minutes. So I would recommend get through quiz 3 and 4 if you can this week. Quiz 3 is due by the 19th, which is the close of week 4. I'm also going to share my screen just to go over some of the other things we have. So you have your two labs like usual. Make sure I'm sharing the correct screen here. So you have to do your two labs. Those are also due at the end of the week by midnight on Wednesday. And there is an extra assignment in there this week in the form of a discussion board. So I do really recommend you start this early so that you have time to go back and respond to classmates because you do have to make one post and you also have to respond to one other post. So I'm going to show you where you find that. You find it, well, for one, you can find it at the bottom here, discussion number 2, or you can find it up at the top if you click discussions, just like you did for your self-introduction. You will scroll down here and you will find one for ethical reasoning. So ethical reasoning is, if you remember back from module 1, and you can look back at the slides if you need a little bit of a refresher. It's just looking at the case studies and forensic investigation through an ethical lens. Like, what do you believe is right and wrong and why? So in order to contribute a meaningful post to this discussion, you'll have to first read the ethical discussion handout. It's, I can't open it here in my view, but you'll be able to download it through here and open it up. It's going to give you a scenario. It's like a forensic science scenario. And you're going to have to come up with an ethical question regarding that scenario. There's a really good example in there for you to use as guidance. So it's up to you what question you pose, but also make sure you look at the rubric. So you see kind of what we're looking for in terms of assigning the points. So you have to make a unique post with your ethical question and cite the source, provide the information and details and your reasoning, just like it asks you on the handout. Then this is the part where you're dependent on your classmates. So this is why I'm encouraging you to get your post up there and get it up early so that there's ones for you to respond to. Okay. If it gets to the close of the week and there is nothing posted for you to respond to, I will take that into consideration. You do not have control over that. But please keep coming back to the discussion board to check, and try to spread out the replies. Like if you see one that already has a bunch of responses, try to respond to one that no one has gotten to yet. So this might be something that I want you to start early, but you'll have to kind of keep checking back throughout the week. This is due on Tuesday. So I made this due one day before everything else. So maybe kind of put this at the forefront of your kind of to-do list during the week. Okay, then for your labs, I just like going through all of this so that a little bit of a refresher, you know where to find everything. Let's see, I can exit out of here. All right, after you've gone through your lecture modules, this week it's on hair and fibers. So it's actually one chapter that's been broken up into two. So the first half of the week is looking at hair evidence. The second half of the week is looking at fiber evidence. So we're getting up through module 8. The other modules will become available as the information gets posted for later weeks. Your laboratory modules, just like all the other modules, these ones are both this week on Science Interactive. So last week you had one that was not. So both of them this week are through Science Interactive, Forensic Anthropology, and Hair and Fibers. Ties in perfectly with what we're doing this week. Quiz 3 is also due this week. If you are ever having trouble, let me put it back in student view. If you are ever having trouble finding exams and quizzes, if you go to content and you scroll down to the bottom, all the assessments that are quiz and lecture exams, they're all here. They're linked right here. So if you need to find quiz 3 because it's back in chapter 5, you can find that here. And you can, like I said, you can work ahead up to quiz 4 if you'd like. You will see lecture exam 2, but it's not available yet. But if you're having trouble finding where those quizzes are, you can find them here. So you have to be up through quiz 3 this week. Whoops. And the exam will become available next week. So you don't have to worry about that yet, but do know that exam 2 is coming up. This is a condensed course. One thing you might see on your pacing guide that I'm actually going to change because I think you have a lot on your plate for this week, having the extra discussion on top of 2 lecture, 2 lab modules. If you were to look at the pacing guide, you would see that there's something called nutshell case study that's due. I'm going to bump that back. I'm going to let you know in the announcements. I'll find a better spot for this because you also next week have your serial poetry project due. So if you haven't looked at the requirements for that, please go back and look through that. You have to do a picture. It can be digital, hand drawn. Do your best. It does not have to be like an artistic masterpiece, but going along with it, you are doing a poetry sample. So it's up to you. Pick a rhythm, pick a rhyme, however you like your poetry, but it has to relate to something we've done in some of the lecture or lab modules. So using some of the vocabulary, maybe some of the forensic techniques. Again, look at the examples that Professor Olson provided to you. He made some really cool ones to give you some inspiration. So start looking ahead at this course pacing guide, but do know that I've replaced the nutshell study due this week with discussion board number 2. So I just wanted you to be aware of that change. And we communicate so much through the announcements. So please make sure you are checking your announcements. I do one at the beginning of the week with a to-do list. I do another one reminding you of the due dates as they get closer. So please try to stay on top of these. It's the main way we communicate. So if you're not checking those announcements, I don't really have a great way to know that you're looking at the due dates and the material that we need, other than when I message you at the end of the week. So I just wanted to touch base because there is a couple extra things for you to look at this week, and I wanted you to be aware of where you can find those. And please reach out, email me if you are having issues or concerns with the course so far, because like I said, we're about halfway through. All right. Thank you so much and good luck this week.